Hello, hello. This is Kel, and we're back with the lab. I'm here with Cody. Hi, Cody.
What's up?
And we're going to talk about the Make America Healthy Again policy slash movement. But before then, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. I'm just enjoying my view of your dog in the background. Being like, oh, what's she doing back there?
She's got one of those treat balls to make her quiet. So, she's
That's
trying to
hilarious.
get treats out.
Uh, but yeah, things are as good as they can be with the dumpster fire of life that is right now. I think it's just something new every single day. It's like Trump picked this person as to put in their cabinet, and it's just like, oh God, okay. Um,
It
and it
feels like like an Onion article. Every new cabinet member that comes out, I'm like, is this the Onion? I hope so, because this
legit.
is the polar opposite of who should be in charge of this department.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess the upside is it does give some pretty good, comedic material. So there's a lot to laugh at, but also a lot to cry at. So it just kind of has to
It would be a lot
balance out.
funnier if I lived in Canada, I think.
And then you just be laughing at us, you're just like,
Exactly.
oh. But I know the people in Canada are concerned as well, because, our politics do not directly affect them, but it bleeds, kind of like COVID. It starts somewhere and then it just spreads. Uh, so, yeah.
The STD you just want to get rid of.
Yeah, except for we don't have a medication for it yet, and chances of survival are not looking great.
Changing daily. Uh,
But yeah, it's also Transgender Awareness Week, which just means trolls are more aware of our presence right now. So that's fun. But yeah, how are you?
Doing okay. About the same as you. I've been still kind of cycling between that anger and deep sadness, along with like a bit of a dash of hopelessness just thrown in on top. So it's been hard. I don't know. It's just been hard election, hard week. Luckily, I had therapy, which helped a lot. Go to therapy. Um, but today it is raining outside, which is never super fun, but it kind of bums me out when it rains. So.
Yeah, same. It was raining here yesterday. Definitely sucks the energy out of you on top of, everything else already sucking the energy out of you. So I feel like seasonal depression this year is just going to feel extra strong.
That's. I was talking about it with Maddie this morning. Actually, that it's just everything just feels so heavy. Like I just feel so low energy. I'm not like tired. Like I'm sleeping fine. I'm just like everything feels hard. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's almost like my nervous system is just shot.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, it's called depression.
It's called depression.
We have some collective depression going on, so you're not alone. But unfortunately, there's also a whole. I mean, I'm not that I'm wishing depression on anyone, but there's also some people who are stoked on life right now and can't really understand that. But
Yeah, yeah, me neither. But I don't know. Just pushing through, hoping that. I mean, it does get better every day, at least a little bit for me. If I stayed offline and stopped doom scrolling, it'd probably be better. But it's like one of those things I just can't seem to look away.
no, same, and it's one of those weird balances of wanting to stay informed, because it matters, but also not having it impact your mental health. And I just don't know that that's possible. It's just like it's going to have an impact, but we can't just put our heads in the sand.
Right. No, absolutely not. And I've been every time I kind of start getting into that hopelessness or that super sadness realm, I try to think kind of like lock back into that community aspect. I know we went hard on talking about that last week, but it's kind of just like diving into the people you love, the people that make you feel good, um, and really making sure that we're holding those boundaries firm around things that we're trying to keep out. I know
Yeah.
one of my boundaries that I've been having a hard time enforcing for my own mental health is the trolls. I Every once in a while I'll get one of those wild hairs that I'm just like, I want to fight all the trolls in my
Oh
comment
yeah.
section, and
Same.
I know that I shouldn't. So because I try to draw that line for my mental health. Like, you're not going to respond to trolls, but then sometimes
Yeah.
it just catches you in that moment.
Yeah. Like this, this time around, it was the day before yesterday, or yes, no, it was yesterday. I woke up to being trolled again. Same fucking post. Yeah. Same fucking post. Yeah. I was like, okay, we're doing this again. I thought we were done. But I wasn't responding to any of it until, well, one was really dumb, and I was just like, someone commenting like, why am I getting this in my feed? And it's like, because you're fucking commenting on it. So that's one. Way to go. But the one that triggers me the most, everything else I've just not responded to. I haven't responded to this one either, but I really, really wanted to. This person commented like, what makes you think you're qualified to coach people when all of your, gains came from using testosterone? And I'm just like, really? Like, really? And I just wanted to like list off all the things that make me qualified, but I was just like, no.
On a very similar vein, which is kind of funny, my most recent troll has been going on about how all of us freaks are taking the testosterone, so guys, real guys with low T can't get it.
I get that a lot, and I responded,
those poor cis guys.
Yeah.
Testosterone.
Well, I've got a few things to say about that. One, like, okay, I responded to one way long ago, made like a reel out of it, and then I just have not responded to any since regarding that, even though I still want to and be like, here, check out this reel. But like, us being on T, one, it's not as easy as they think it is. It's just like, oh, doctor will just give you a testosterone because,
they pick you up at school. Come on.
Right. It's just like, so one, yeah, it's not easy. Two, it's actually, what the fuck?
Why are there balloons?
I don't know. Okay. Okay. Is it because I did this? Like, I don't know. Okay. So now to my ADHD is just like balloons. So two, it's actually quite easy these days for men to get HRT. You might have to pay out of pocket for it. You might have to go to a HRT clinic. But it's really, really not that hard these days. And that's why there's so many HRT clinics. They also don't realize. Yeah. And they also don't realize that they are not going to just be prescribed testosterone because they want to like make more gains in the gym. The doctors will prescribe it if their T is too low. That is why we're prescribed it, because we cannot naturally make it ourselves, obviously. But they're mad about it. And three, just because we're getting it, that is not impacting your ability to get it. Like, that's not our problem. Like, have an issue with the medical system, but literally it's not our problem. So, yeah.
No, and to be honest, like, I haven't had, like, have you had T disruptions? Like,
no.
I have. No, because there's plenty of it, because the healthcare cares about making things for men. So there's plenty of PRT out there.
Yeah. I've never dealt with a shortage. I think maybe there might have been at some point, but they fixed it very quickly. I think the biggest hurdle right now for people getting or trans people getting testosterone is there are, states like Florida who will give you a hard time for it, or just, it just depends. But I think they made it so like pharmacies can like not give it to you if it goes against their religious beliefs. So any pharmacist could turn you away because of that and tell you to go somewhere else. So that's like the biggest thing I think has been a barrier. But yeah, again, it's not that hard.
Sorry, just one second. I'm very annoyed by the trolls, and Ohio just passed another trans bill literally yesterday.
Saw that.
So
Yeah.
super duper cool. A nice way to celebrate transgender awareness Day.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, Trump, did you see his video about how he wants to, like, prevent, you know, gender affirming care being paid for at any age by taxpayer dollars, which means he doesn't want insurance to cover it. But also, trans people pay taxes. And if we have to pay for, you know, someone's heart surgery because they just couldn't stop, they didn't want to take care of themselves and they ate too much fast food, like, we're paying for that. No one's arguing that. But no one
I mean, we're paying
everyone
for
has
Viagra.
Right, exactly. And it's just like trans people are part of working society. We pay our taxes. So what
More
makes
than
people
he does.
think yeah, what makes people think that we're not paying taxes and we're just like mooching off the government for gender affirming care? It's just like yeah.
Especially with how much red tape there is to get any gender affirming care.
Right. Right. It's not easy, even when insurance pays for it, because they still try not to. And there's like loopholes, and sometimes you have to fight them, and it's not fun. But people still make it sound like it's so easy, like getting your testosterone is so easy. But also, no dude out there would ever ask that same question from like a cis bodybuilding coach who's obviously on steroids. Yeah, like they'd never be like, what makes you qualified to coach people because you're on steroids? I mean, like some people might, but it's like just because I'm trans that they're questioning my qualifications. And it's just like, I know how hormones work. Like, that's how I'm qualified. Yeah. So.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyways.
do we want to talk? Well, we're kind of on the subject.
We're already talking about it, yeah.
We might as well go into the Make America Healthy Again movement.
Yeah.
I can, I have the main points just like bulleted out. You want me to read them?
Yeah.
So, Make America Healthy Again is a PAC political movement focused on health priorities. The things that they're trying to address specifically are chronic disease prevention, regenerative agriculture, environmental and habitat protection, anti-corporate influence, which is hilarious, and toxin removal. So essentially what they're saying is that they want to put more emphasis on policies that will help be more proactive, is what they are saying that they're doing. If that is what they're actually going to do is up in the air. But did you want to go? We can go into these all a little deeper, but I know the ones that the big controversy, if people have been living under the rock, is that they have this Make America Healthy Again movement to kind of pull in undecided voters, essentially, who, to me, what this is looking for is undecided voters who are hippies or untrusting of science in the environment. Yeah. And so this is a lot of the anti-vaxxers and folks like that.
Yeah. Yep. It's a lot of...
It's the leftists that went so far left that they're now
They
right.
became the right. It's a circle. It just keeps going. That's exactly what it is.
And it's funny because they're talking about adding regulation when Trump is the one who took away all the regulation to begin with.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing that people don't know is like food safety is part of this. So when they're talking about dismantling the FDA, that could potentially make our food even less safe. So it's not just about like, they have this very like puffy and happy, cushy feel around all the keys that they want to address. But that's great, but it's deeper than that. So like, don't get me wrong, our health system is shit. There's a lot of things that might not be a bad thing, but there's a lot that could also be potentially bad because RFK is known to be on the anti-vax part of things, and I know he has said that he hasn't planned to take away people's vaccines and all that, but he is also like spreading distrust. Yeah.
And misinformation, straight up.
Yeah. It's like, should we trust the government completely? No, but we do know that vaccines work, especially the ones that have been around for quite some time. And that's how we are not getting sick and dying. That's how we're not getting polio anymore. It's how we're not getting, like smallpox and shit. So do we really want to go back to that place?
Right. And so RFK, Robert F. Kennedy is the person who's been put in charge of this, who was a Democrat, but is now a Republican because he can get
circle.
power there. So let's just remember that we have all kinds of competing, not priorities, but some reasons why people are doing this, right? So, and just to kind of dive into, can I give the listeners a little background on Robert F. Kennedy?
Yes, go for it.
So he is an environmental lawyer who has parasites in his brain, as well as does all kinds of other weird, crazy things. But he was big in the COVID time, or when COVID was very big in the shutdown. He was very big about spreading misinformation about the vaccines and stuff. He was promoted a lot of unfounded theories that made like a lot of that distrust that you were talking about. So this is his MO for quite a while now. He also has theories about Wi-Fi causing autism and stuff like that.
Fluoride.
Yeah, he's really anti-fluoride. There's all kinds of things, which makes it interesting that he's trying to make America healthy again with this kind of a background.
Yeah. And it's... Oof. I was trying to think of like... So, I mean, the thing... Should we point out some potential positives, I guess?
Sure.
Potentially. So, addressing things like chronic disease, that means putting more emphasis on prevention. I mean, yeah. So, there's potential for him to promote insurances covering more things like, like functional, like things like seeing doctors that do like full panels, labs, that sort of thing. And I know that is controversial in itself. People shit on the functional thing. But I do think that there's some things that's like, just because something hasn't been quite studied yet doesn't mean that it's completely false. Because we know there's a lot of things that like traditional medicine misses or just kind of sends you on your merry way. And it's like, labs are fine. You're good, even though you feel like shit. But also things like stem cell and PRP, they're not covered by insurance because they're not FDA approved, because the FDA still sees it as experimental. But we know they work because we have doctors who do it, but insurance won't cover it. So if we can get insurance to cover more things like that, that would be awesome. Also, potential for insurance to cover personal training, because, hey, prevention.
That would be cool.
We are trying to get, chronic disease down, and that's where it all starts, the simple things. But that also being said, when we know that the simple things are like the leading cause of chronic disease, um, we're focusing on really weird shit like the food dyes and the fluoride and all that stuff, when the big issue here is that people are not moving enough. We're eating too much. So even if you remove the dyes from the Fruit Loops, if you eat too many Fruit Loops, you're still gonna gain weight, and you're still gonna have a higher chance of having chronic disease. So it's kind of like we're really missing on this. Like we're focusing on something that is not as urgent. So
On the not big movers, not the priorities.
right. Oh yeah, and also because we know things can get weird. Things like kratom, for example. People wanted to go. The government wanted to go after that, or making things that are beneficial illegal. I mean, even cannabis, right? And then things like peptides, which technically are legal, but they have to be sold as like experimental things, and it has to have a label that says not for human consumption. So it's like all these things are technically available, but it's like this gray area. So maybe if we could, I think one of their thing is they want to make it so they have more funding to research these type of things, which I think would be good. The scary part is making like, how do we regulate these things to, even like the supplement companies too. I think it's like less regulation going into like the supplement companies and stuff, but it's just like we already kind of struggle with what is in our supplements, and it's just we don't need more green lights for people to do God knows what and try to sell it. So it's just like there could be potential benefit, but it's just like, how is he going to do anything he says he wants to do, like dismantle the FDA and fire everybody in the FDA? It's just like, okay. Regenerative agriculture, if you've ever seen the movie Food Inc., and I think he even appointed, I think his name's Joel Salton or something like that. He's this farmer who's into regenerative agriculture, and he's a very smart guy. Like the way that he raises his animals and teaches people about regenerative agriculture, because of course, the way that we raise animals is very inhumane and not great for the environment. But how can I don't think we can support a whole country off of that. Maybe I'm wrong, and I know that they really are trying or want to see what they could do with it. If we even have more regenerative agriculture, regenerative agriculture focused farms, that would be probably not a bad thing. I just don't know that it would sustain us just on its own. But yeah, it's just kind of like, how are you going to do all these things without also causing more harm? And can he actually even do any of this? Because why hasn't anyone done anything yet? Money. There's so much fucking money from like, yeah.
Well, and also the tenets of this policy is kind of big government, right? So it's the idea of adding more regulation, funding more science and research. That's putting a lot of money into the system, yes, but also the Republicans and Trump in particular have been very against that and pushing it all back. So it's two very opposing ideas in general. So I don't really see how this is feasible in the slightest, because we're saying that we're gonna make environmental issues a bigger priority with more regulation and stop corporate influence, but we already just gutted that in the last Trump presidency. We already dismantled it. Like, who's going to make the companies follow the rules if we get rid of the FDA, when that's who does it already? And there's not enough yet still.
Right.
Like, especially with the mass increase in food safety hazards and food
Yeah.
recall. Um, I think it's it's laughable to me because it just doesn't make sense. It's very contradictory.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't really get it, but I do think it was very persuasive to folks. This is a
Yeah.
little bit tangential, but I follow a lot of the homecoming or not homecoming, the homesteading folks on like TikTok and in social media because I'm very interested in that. And a lot of them were Trump voters. A lot of them were Trump voters,
Yeah.
and it was because of this.
Yep.
Um, because they're just going with what they're saying as opposed to looking at the actions and the evidence we have that
Yeah.
they're not supporting.
Yeah. Can I read to you? So there's this um, doctor person, she's a immunologist, I think. And she said, yeah, words are hard. So I don't agree with everything she says, but she pointed out the potential like downfalls of the movement. So she said, if MAHA is focused on making Americans healthy, I expect to see. Oh wait, sorry, that was wrong one. Okay, some foreseeable outcomes of Trump and MAHA policies. Infectious diseases will spread. Our foods will become less safe. Our foods will become more expensive. Our foods will not become healthier. They may become less nutritious. The wealth gap will widen. Health outcomes, especially for low-income folks, will worsen. Women will suffer and die. She's very, children will suffer and die. Innovation in science and medicine will halt. Food supply will become less stable. Climate change will accelerate, and species will die out. She's real uplifting. But here's what she says that they should focus on if they want to actually make America healthier. And I do agree with these things. So expansion of Medicare and Medicaid, and then affordable health care for all, increased budget for food safety, implementing modern agriculture tools for food crops, addressing their lies about conventionally grown foods. That one, there's a few. It's like not great. There's a lot of chemicals, but also organic food is not chemical free. It's kind of more of a marketing thing. So yeah. Reduce prescription costs, funding for cancer and genetic disease research, expand environmental protection for water, land, and air, renewable energy development, and endangered species protections. So yeah, it's just kind of like shows how they're missing the mark and the potential of, or the potential consequences of things. And she made it real heavy.
But it's true. I mean, it is something that's pretty scary. And like the other thing that I thought was interesting, because I won't say it's funny because it's not, but at the same time that we're saying we're going to make America healthy again, we're going to cut even more of the affordable, from what I understand, cut more of the Affordable Care Act or whatever, the Obamacare like policies. So it's just like, how can you say you're going to make America great while simultaneously taking away insurance from thousands of people?
Right. It's just it clashes. It doesn't fit. It doesn't make sense. So it's like the only way I see it is that they're planning to, the thing is, if they go back, if we roll it back to where back in the day when people literally couldn't get insurance because they had pre-existing conditions. So maybe he's thinking, well, let's just address those pre-existing conditions like metabolic diseases. And then, because people can't get insurance coverage, we'll just, blame it on, on being metabolically unhealthy and, find ways for people to get treated that way. And it's just like, yeah, no, because we are too far gone for that.
It's so maddening. It's so maddening.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's scary shit. Because I think a lot of people I know are very scared of the vaccines and are very scared about what's in our food. And I get that to an extent, right? Like, it's scary. We want to care about what's going into our bodies, and it's important and I'm happy that people are caring about what's going into their bodies, but at the same time we have to understand that you gotta trust the people who went to school for this and like made their career on this. Like we have
Yeah.
to trust the science, and you have to trust the people who do the science in order to keep it on. You don't know everything about the science, so you can't say that you know more than an immunologist, or you know what I mean. It in that I think really it makes me so unbelievably angry when people
Yeah.
think that they know more about vaccines than a scientist who's been doing this for a million years, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like, I do want to address our healthcare system. I do want to make it, or like, I wish we had something other than going to the doctor and like them not being able to do anything for you unless they're prescribing something or that's their first like line of action. It's just, there's so, it's like a mountain to tackle. And he's not wrong in that the focus is always on like treating people after they're sick. Like it's a healthcare system to keep people sick because that's how they stay in business, and like that, it's not wrong. But how do we address that in particular, or address that first? There's just a lot of corruption.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like no one's been able to do a thing.
No.
So how do we expect he's just going to go over there and just mow people down?
Well, and it's corruption and then distraction, right? So it's let's look at all these other things like red dye and Wi-Fi, and instead of actually addressing the big movers that are actually going to move the needle for folks and make their lives better and their bodies healthier. Instead of doing that, we're just going to keep on keeping on. Because
Yeah.
like right now, folks are eating, like we can talk about food deserts and the fact that like a lot of rural people don't even have access to food that isn't from Dollar General.
Yes.
Instead of dealing with something along those lines, we're going to deal with making sure that the Kool-Aid they drink from the Dollar General is red dye free. Like that's not going to do much, but okay.
Right. Yeah. And that's why, like Dr. Andrea Love, like such a name. If my last name was Love, that would be fun. Anyways, but that's what she said, like getting more access for like food access to people. That's a huge thing that is very much so overlooked. When people have less options to begin with, like how do we fix that? How can we get people to eat more fruits and vegetables, but also be able to afford to eat more fruits and vegetables? That's the part needs to be addressing. That's the foundation of it. And of course, education. We keep getting rid of classes like PE and things that gets kids moving and stuff like that, but also like home economics, where people grow up without knowing how to prepare food anymore. And that leads
I didn't know how to prepare food. You know this.
My point exact. No,
No, but it is like
yeah.
I had a very regular education, and I was when did I start working with you? Like I don't know, probably 4 years ago, 5 years ago now, and
Yeah, it's a while ago.
maybe. And like I didn't know how to cook. It's not something that people are taught unless your parents teach you anymore.
Yeah, and that was my main mission when I went to culinary school, and I still it is still a mission of mine. But I'm just it makes me want to emphasize it even more and make it more of my mission now, because it really is a problem. And I know people. It's hard to get people to also switch gears because they've also gotten used to convenience. And so how do you convince someone to inconvenience themselves for their health? Because it's not something where you see instantaneous benefits from. So we've got a few things playing against us. It's people are way less patient these days and they want that instant gratification, but also they want the convenience. And so it's just to be able to order anything, or the convenience of processed foods is so appealing, especially when there's not a lot of time. Maybe people are working 2 jobs to afford to even live. So these are the main issues that we need to
The
tackle.
chicken and egg issues.
Yeah.
You know?
I think if people even just had more money in general, we could make better food choices and it would free up more time to cook. But there's a lot of people that are not fortunate enough to be able to afford the time and the effort and the money in order to, better their health. And I'm not saying that's everyone. There's some of you out there that have the time and the money and you just choose not to do it. But there are people who actually they're at their wits' end. They just cannot budge on anything. And that is a problem. So,
Well, that was a high. I'm gonna really bring everybody out of their depression with that episode. I think.
I did want to read that thing. So there's also another approach. So it's out of the scientific realm. It's not fighting with science, but it is kind of fighting with a certain mindset, I guess. So I wanted to read a carousel post by her name is Tia Levings, and she's an ex-Christian fundamentalist, hardcore to where, yeah. So I think she was in the documentary. It was either Shiny Happy People. I'm pretty sure it was that one. I've watched so many, they all just kind of smushed together. But she has a book that she just released. She's a really good writer, but she addressed this, which you wouldn't suspect someone who writes about Christian fundamentalism to talk about the MAHA movement. You're like, how does this come together? Well, let's find out. So she writes, I just finished perusing a bunch of Make America Healthy Again content. From my marrow, I understand why they want what they want. It sounds so sweet and ideal. It looks that way too. Having been there, done that as a young mom, I deeply resonated with the hunger to keep my children safe, healthy, and protected through good nutrition and safe medicine. I even spent years as a home everything, made every meal and most condiments from scratch, extended my breastfeeding, grew our food, and didn't vaccinate. My community and I were quite pure about it. Our goal was to spread awareness so everyone could live that way. And we never discussed why it wasn't an option for people who didn't look or live like us. We believed in momentum and it excited us to she uses big words to coalesce into a community into a community with influence. If only we had some historical evidence for the methods suggested. I wondered one day, I can read, some research and studies, some testimonies. I knew what our goal was and what teachers promised. But we were a counter movement, frequently confronted with questions, insults, attacks, and doubts that weren't always easy to defend. Some of my results weren't matching up with what was promised. My kids were sometimes very sick, and I knew there was a chance my alternative methods could be called into question. If only we had some reliable science, some proof. We felt like we were living on edge of a brave new world of health and wellness territory, finally making America healthy again. Surely everyone would eventually see the wisdom of our ways and join us. Then the herd would be healthier. Our immunity would be stronger. Nothing would be lost along the way. But we skipped some steps that had brought us here. Not everyone made it through the old ways into modern times. Those old times weren't as healthy as the Victorian painting suggested. I didn't want to eat organ meat, and there came a day when my older kids needed their shots. It was scary when they burned a fever, and I needed to cross the line from homeopathic to traditional medicine to bring it down. It was scarier to tell one of my wellness friends that I was doing it, because they immediately warned and judged me. But I wanted to put my children first. That's how I'd gotten into this. Ironically, that was part of what helped me out. So she says, I didn't know yet that fundamentalist binary thinking could be anything, including health and wellness philosophies. I didn't know science had ways to sort the reliable findings from the surprises and mysteries. I didn't know a lot. I'm self-educated, not formally educated, and still growing. Curiosity, intuition are values I've come to guard closely. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to sit with and name doubts. And it turned out that my fear and purity seeking had played very well into a narrative strung by the wealthy and powerful. I'd become part of an industry seeking political power. By tapping into a movement, instead of simply making healthier choices I'd become a pawn in a king's battle. My children were frontline soldiers. We weren't making America healthy again. We were providing bodies for fuel and voter counts. The last day I was part of this movement was the day my kids and I violently puked a failed batch of home-brewed kombucha, which I love kombucha, but I don't brew it myself because I don't want to get sick.
I've made kombucha.
I have too, but I was just like, I don't trust this. I like, this looks gross. So she said, I'll never forget it, and I'll spare you the sour splash details. It sent me face down on someone else's bathroom floor, which is otherwise known as the foot of the cross of whatever hill I said I'd die on. The bathroom floor is the scene of sacred conversion. My journey through the health and wellness industry isn't part of my story. I talk about very often, but it's in A Well-Trained Wife, My Escape from Christian Patriarchy. That's her book. I deeply understand how the trad and wellness movements are part of the Trump voting base, both from the RFK side and the Christian nationalist fundamentalist side. The Venn overlaps widely. So I just thought that was really interesting because not a lot of people make that connection. There's this purist aspect, the black and white, and rule following, which I'm a person who loves rules, fucking obviously. Like, I also grew up Christian, and then after I came out of Christianity, I went right into eating paleo and doing CrossFit. So it's just like, there's something about the fundamentalist mindset. I don't know if it's like a trait or maybe it's OCD, for fuck's sake. You know, like, I'm pretty sure it's part of it for me. But there's that purity sense where you kind of keep searching. It's like you're searching for certainty, and just like, if I do this, then I will be pure or superior, or, you know, something along those lines. So I just wanted to like bring that into the conversation.
Yeah, I like that, and I do think it's control, like, because it's about control, right? So you're looking for that magic formula to be able to keep everybody safe. I mean, it's not a bad instinct.
Right.
It just got kind of taken.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like, you know, bottom line is, if we want to just look at it as people care, they care about their kids, they care about health, about other people's health, that sort of thing. And that's how the movement got started. But it just, it got lost, and it got complicated, and it got political.
It got political.
Political as fuck.
Money got involved.
Yeah. No.
Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about with the MAHA?
I don't think so. I think, you know, it's just like, there's some potential things that might be beneficial, but there's also a lot of possible scary things. And that's where it's at, because we don't know what's going to happen. It's that uncertainty thing. It's the same thing with what's going on with the new elected president. He's not in office yet, so we just got to wait and see what happens. All we can do is check who he's picking like it's fucking NFL draft, and, you know, sit with it.
Yeah. Yep. And stay together.
Yeah. We'll make
All
it
right,
through.
We'll make it through. What's our power talk today? Bring it on home.
Power talk is very it's very simple, but give yourself some credit for the days you made it when you thought you couldn't. And I've had a lot of those days this year, really. So kind of just a reminder, like, there's going to be potentially a lot of rough days ahead, but also, even in the case where healthcare gets fucked, or, you know, it fucks over getting care, gender affirming care. Fortunately, we've been there. You know, like, it wasn't that long ago I paid for top surgery because insurance didn't cover it. So we are still here. We survived Did it make life easier? No. Made it exponentially harder. But somehow we'll figure out a way through it. Yeah. So.
Absolutely. I like it. We're in it together, and we'll figure it out.
Yes, precisely. All right.
All right. Until next time.
Peace out.